So good evening, everyone. Welcome. Apologies for the delay and technical difficulties. I'd like to call our regular meeting of our Town Plan and Zoning Commission to order. Today is Monday, September 2nd, 2025.
Tuesday.
It is Tuesday. Thank you. It is Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. It is now 6:57 p.m., so thank you all again for your patience. My name is Robert Klee. I'm the chair of our Woodbridge Town Planning and Zoning Commission. Other members of the commission who are with us here tonight are Jeff Kennedy, the vice chair, Ben Cherry, Aaron Hoffman, Paul Schatz. I know that Andrew Skolnick is recused from this matter and is not here. We have TBZ alternates with us tonight, Kathy Hunter and Robert Wisnia, and in our normal rotation, tonight is Kathy Hunter's night to be seated as alternate. We've been ably supported by Chris Sullivan, our town land use analyst and zoning enforcement officer. It's nice to see all of you. Hopefully you had a nice Labor Day holiday, as well as to all the folks in the audience. Our agenda tonight has been available on the town website, and though I do want to note at the beginning that there was some confusion associated with the posting of our agenda and the postings on the website, those are the types of things we're going to discuss at the beginning once we open up this, the continued public hearing on the 804 Fountain Street development, in specific their special exception site plan for a 96-unit multifamily development, and their special exception for the gable hip gambrel roof requirements. I know what was canceled, which caused the confusion, was an additional special permit application for excavation, removal, and filling regarding the same development. So we will, once we open up so that excavation permit was not properly noticed, and therefore its public hearing had to be canceled, but these are the types of things we're going to discuss as soon as we open the continued public hearing on the full site plan and the exception to the roof requirements. My guess is we will be doing some housekeeping tonight to sort of understand what we do tonight and what we may need to do at the next public hearing that will be scheduled. Just to jump to the end, there will be another public hearing on this matter because it will need to be continued. But those are the types of things we're going to discuss as soon as we formally open. We don't have any other new business. In our work session, we're going to be talking about all these things, including the scheduling. And we also have our interveners have filed requests to be interveners in the excavation special exception permit as well. And then if we have time at the end, we have other things on our agenda as we normally do. Unfortunately, this is the only working microphone, which again will make this a challenging night. Or maybe I'm being corrected that we may now have more working microphones behind me. Someone want to test?
For the red check chair.
Hey, Rob, the one over here works.
Test.
Rob.
Three months.
Okay, so I can now sit down. Hey, do we need to turn this off or? And the applicant will need that microphone if that microphone is working. Great. So I'd like to open our continued public hearing on 804 Fountain Street for their special exception to the site plan to construct their multifamily development and their special exception to modify the requirement for the gable hip and gambrel roof. Would the applicant like to come forward and kind of explain where we are tonight and the potential options for us this evening?
Happy to, Mr. Chairman. If you can't hear me, I know you'll let me know. I will do my best to speak as loudly as I can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Nutt. I'm an attorney with an office at 135 Broad Street in Milford. I'm here tonight on behalf of Angela Lacey, who is the applicant, of course. So let me bring everyone up to speed, including the public. Our intent was this evening was to go forward with both, I'll call it all three applications. The first two original applications for the project itself and for the special exception for the roof, and then also the excavation special exception application. Chris called me on Thursday or Friday last week and said that the notice hadn't been published. Things happen. You know, I myself have failed to provide notices. It's part of our process. And when she told me that, my first inclination was, I don't know really how we can do a presentation on the overall project, considering of all the changes that we made with regard to drainage and stormwater and grading and all that, and separate that out from the excavation special exception application. And so my first inclination was we should do it all at the same time, because clearly there's a lot of interest in this applications, and that it works best for everyone. The commission, the public, the applicant, and the process itself, and yes, maybe a judge at some point, to do this in as organized a fashion as possible. We present, people do their opposition. We present responses to that, and their experts. So we want to do this in a very specific and organized fashion. So it made sense to me, and then eventually to my clients, and I think to your town attorney, that tonight no substantive information would be provided on any application, that the commission can choose another hearing night where it gives Chris sufficient time to publish. That could be later in September, when we can discuss all three applications simultaneously, the changes to the original application, as well as the excavation application. Ideally, the interveners, consultants, or experts could offer their opinion, and then you can come back on another night, and I think that's what we're looking at, probably 2 more public hearings, and we can respond, and then we're done. Because I want to be clear, the applicant gets the last word. And so, the way to do this, the best way to do this, the most organized way to do this, is let us come back, we'll present to the commission all the new material, and you can ask us questions as you did last time, and then you have an understanding of the changes to our application. The public and consultants can address those, and then we can be done that night, and then we can come back and respond to everything. That's a very clean, organized way of doing it in 2 nights, and that would be my recommendation. And I don't see any other reason to do it. Otherwise, if you take public comment tonight, I'm not sure what people are commenting on, other than what people have said, you know, at the very first hearing. Yes, we submit some new information, but I don't know that, Dwight said you've all had a chance to really delve into it. I think you would benefit from hearing from our new engineer, explaining everything that it is that you'll be hearing. And then, so then you would have some context to understand what it is that, you know, everyone is saying. So that would be my recommendation. You can act on the interventions, don't care about that. You can pick a new date for the opening of the excavation special permit and the continuation of this one. And then also, ideally, we would have a understanding, I and the interveners, when they were going to be submitting their responses to our new materials. The one thing that I don't think benefits anybody, including the particular commission, is to get a memo from Steve Trinkets as we walk in the door at the next meeting. I mean, it's just, you know, so we have nothing to hide. I don't think they have anything to hide. Let's not play action. Let's just do this in an organized fashion.
Commission members with questions for the applicant, or do you want to hear from the interveners and their response to this proposal? I might just ask a clarifying question. If you're proposing a 2-night process, a special meeting in late September, my guess is we might use our upcoming regular meeting in the first week of October as those potential 2 dates, recognizing the end of September is challenging.
Understood.
Holidays, Jewish holidays, lots going on.
No, again, I was looking at that as well. Understood.
But, and your proposal would be to have presentations on that first late September meeting, ample time for the commission to have reviewed all the material, including any material, new material from the interveners, ample time for the public to also review that. The public comment would also happen at that September meeting or at the October meeting, or
I think that's up to you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, there's new material, so if they want to comment on that new material, then, that's fine. But if everyone has spoken at the next meeting, and if the interveners experts have provided their testimony, then the public comment should be done, and we can come back, and we have the right to respond. What we had planned on doing this evening, until we knew about the notice, was simply to respond to all the comments we get last time. So people said, well, we can't have a moving target. We need to have a set application and what it is that people want us to respond to. And we will respond. In some cases, someone may say at the next meeting, could you give us another evergreen? Or could you do whatever? Could you move this over here? And we will come back and say yes or no. But when we say yes or no, that doesn't promote another round of comments. Because then we'll be here until January, or God knows when. So.
And members of the public, thank you, but we're trying to get through these items up here as efficiently as we can. Other immediate questions from commission members? Yes, Jeff, you need to literally get as close to the microphone as possible. And then I do want to hear from the interviewers next.
Maybe you could explain, Attorney Nuff, what happened with the change where we had a site plan and we also had an excavation application come in. So that sort of created some of the confusion. So maybe you could just explain that as two of the three components.
Correct.
To the people here.
Yes.
Thank you.
The original applications were submitted. An excavation permit should have been submitted. It was not. When we were aware of that, we submitted an excavation application. That required a new public hearing, required new newspaper notices. Those newspaper notices were not published, so you don't have the authority to open the hearing on the excavation special permit tonight. What I'm suggesting is that you pick a date that is convenient for everybody at some point in September with sufficient time for Chris to publish. You can open the excavation special permit out hearing that night at the same time as we continue this hearing right now. And so you can entertain all three applications in a holistic manner, rather than saying, well, we can't talk about that because that deals with excavation, but we can't talk about this because that's just drainage. It's like, it is very difficult to pull the two apart.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman.
Any other immediate questions before we hear from the interveners? Yeah,
Rob,
you need to
I
pass.
think you should explain to everybody who came tonight. I heard you, not clearly, exactly what's going to happen. So what's not going to happen tonight is that they're going to be able to comment. I think they need to understand that before we go on.
We're still discussing that. We're going to hear from the interveners and their position. We've heard the applicant's proposal, and then we get to decide. Okay, for the interviewers, if you can please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Brenton Elliott from Zangari Cohen, New Haven, on behalf of the Woodbridge Land Trust, the Woodbridge Park Association, both the interveners in the original site plan and the first two special applications that came in front of the commission. On behalf of the interveners, we absolutely object to the idea that the public hearing cannot continue tonight. There was 600 pages of new information that was submitted by the applicant in the last 2 weeks that the public has a right to comment on. The excavation was a comprehensive discussion on that at the last two public hearings, including by Mr. Trinkus, but also by the members of the public. I think it's the best use of the commission's time and of the public's time that the public hearing continue tonight, and the interveners can respond with their experts in October. A couple of the dates which were kicked around in October, I'm not sure, they may land on holidays from my casual glance at my Beecher Road School calendar, so we may want to be cognizant of that. However, I think we need to be cognizant as well of the people's time, and they're here to talk about this. In the last hearing, Mr. Nuff suggested that we move the public hearing portion of the process to the beginning and talk about the substantive portions that the interveners were going to present at the end. I don't see why that same form wouldn't hold true tonight as well. So that's the intervener's position. We think that the public hearing tonight should go forward. We think there should be, yes, fine, 2 more hearings on this at least to address some of the substantive failures. Mr. Trinkus has not had time, because he got 600 pages dropped on him last week, to go through the engineering drawings, but his initial impressions of it is that it is still non-compliant with the 2024 DEP guidance document, et cetera, et cetera. So there's going to be a lot of substantive comments next time around, but the public is here and they should be entitled to talk.
Attorney Elliott, if you could stay there to see if the commission members have any questions of you, and I'll start with one. Did you, and we've also received a whole lot of paper over the last few days, did you actually though request to have this hearing continued?
Yes, that's right. And Mr. Nuff declined. He said, absolutely not. I want to proceed on Tuesday. So here we are. I had no contact from the town attorney today. I had no contact from Ms. Sullivan, no contact from the commission. The applicant had 90 days last time to respond to our submission. This process is taking a long time. The first 2 parts of this application involving the site plan were properly noticed. The only argument in front of us tonight is whether or not that excavation plan was properly noticed. Actually, I don't think it's even an argument. I think it wasn't properly noticed. Everything else was noticed, which is why everyone is here. I mean, where's the prejudice to the applicant by continuing the public hearing tonight?
So I guess my additional follow-up question is, would the public benefit from having the fuller presentation on the reports, the various responses from the town's consultants, your consultants, because I don't believe we received. Would the public benefit from having that all together at once in advance of their public comment?
I believe the public would benefit from having as much information on this property as possible. I think that's evident. I also think that it's evident that during the last hearing, it went on for so many hours that we lost a huge portion of our population due to time constraints who walked out of the room. By the end of the meeting, and I was still here, we were probably down to 1/3 of the actual attendance that we started with. So I think it's very evident that a large number of people did not get to speak at the last hearing, and I would not be surprised, I have not polled the audience, but I would not be surprised if a large number of those people were here tonight and ready to speak, just as they were last time, the clock ran out. So tonight, if we're not having a substantive presentation from the applicant, it seems to me that we have a lot of extra time to hear from the voters of this town about what they think about this application.
So what would you say to if we opened the public comment to folks who didn't have an opportunity to comment last time?
I think that's fine.
But only that group at this stage, in essence, a continuation for, if you're saying that to folks who waited and didn't, come to the end.
I mean, that's really up to you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's important that every single
I'm
voter...
asking you for your,
Well,
you think it's a good idea or a bad idea? That's a little...
I think it's a good idea to hear from every single person that wants to speak about this application. I think that's the democratic process in this town, and I think that's the way this should proceed. I think that that's what this town is asking for, and that's what they're hungry for at this moment, which is why this place is so packed.
Here, here.
agree that it is important to hear from everyone, but if everyone in this room speaks, and everyone should get the chance to be heard during this process, my concern is that you will have we'll have the same issue that we had last time, where people with time constraints will start filtering out and won't get a chance to be heard, and people who spoke last time. If we're going to have everyone get the chance to speak, if everyone wants to stay, that's fine, but you brought up yourself, and we obviously saw that the last meeting, a lot of people left by the end, and I heard from people who wanted a chance to speak. So I'm interested in having them speak first. I want to hear them. I'm trying to think of a way that is acceptable to make sure that people who need to put their kids to bed get a chance to speak first.
Don't worry about it. I understand the concern. I don't know how to arrange that process, but it seems sensible, right?
And we'll have another hearing, so if you want, if we can take that chance, then it'll open, you're saying we should open to everyone.
I mean, I think that we're all here, we're all ready, and we might as well utilize the time, we've got the space. Why not? It's not prejudicing the applicant who's not here. It's public comment. The experts from the Land Trust and from the Park Association are not here. The experts from the applicant are not here. So the level of technical expertise that's going to get kicked around is not going to be on par with that. So what's the prejudice to the applicant here?
I'm purely talking about making sure that people who didn't get to speak last time get a chance to speak.
I understand. Thank you.
Other question? You need a microphone.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear. So are you advocating to continue the public hearing from however many months ago it was tonight, then have the applicant give a formal presentation at the next meeting at some point in September, and then continue this public hearing until then? So we'll have three nights of public hearings, plus a public hearing on the excavation plan?
It's the process that was suggested by the applicant last time, which was to front load the public hearing portion and to put the substantive portion at the back end. It seems to me, Mr. Commissioner, that we're all here. There's plenty of information to comment on.
I'm not arguing. I just want to know, but are you advocating that? So there's essentially, we had a public hearing, we'll have one tonight, we'll continue it until next time, we'll have the excavation plan, and then another public hearing for that.
That seems correct, yeah.
Thank you.
I personally feel we should have the public here, that they should know what they're coming. I think that's what it is.
So that I understand it, I'm not sure for whom this is a question, but what substance were we expecting to receive tonight, or hoping to receive? Substance with respect to the excavation, removal and grading, that cannot proceed because of the notice issue, is that correct?
So the plan for this evening was to review the new materials that were submitted a couple of weeks ago. We were asked to do soil borings. We did soil borings. We were asked for proof of demonstrating that we comply with the DEP stormwater requirements, which we've done. We're going to go through the detail of all those things, where all the soil borings were taking place, what it is that we found, what the soils are like, why they will permeate or percolate. In addition to that is to go through the whole excavation process. Yes, could we, in theory, talk about some of that without, it didn't really make some sense. So, as I said, our goal was to do this in as efficient a manner as possible. The people of the town of Woodbridge 100% have a right to speak on the application, but that doesn't mean they have the right to speak 12 times. If they want to speak on the new information that we submitted tonight, or somehow it got too late last time for them to speak on the application, that's fine. But that's their bite at the apple. We don't have to hear from everybody at every public hearing.
Why?
It is not what the law requires.
but I don't, but that's not the
You
argument.
need to be in front of the microphone.
That's not the argument. What happened at the last public hearing was we got bogged down in very technical stuff for a couple, 3 hours, and the clock ran out on the public. Tonight, we don't have the same issue. We don't have the technical stuff. So you have a good opportunity to take advantage of having everyone here and letting them have their piece.
Yes, I hear you clearly about that today. So the question that I think is being raised and is being alluded to by the commission members is, if we have a technical meeting in late September where the applicant will present, the interveners will present, we will likely have our own town consultants present, that will fill up 3 hours alone. Will we then end that meeting and then come back again without the public comment at that second meeting, come back again, and then the applicant will get his last response to everything that got hashed out in that 3 hours and not have public comment again? That seems to be, and don't let me put words in your mouth, is that what the applicant is proposing as our schedule? And we have our public comment today on.
Listen, if you want to have the public comment, but it would be, I think, be more productive for the commission and for the process, so that they are fully informed by virtue of our presentation. I don't know, so we heard about 600 pages. Probably 400 of those are the drainage reports. I don't think that any of us are reading the drainage reports. They may be looking at the site plans and other things, but, so, whatever the page number is. But I don't think that we're going to be hearing comment tonight regarding where our soil borings took place, or the new landscape plan. So if you want to hear more public comment, I'm just trying to do this in an efficient manner. I like to come, by the way, before we get, if you decide to do public comment, we got to pick a date first. If you want to, so we should pick a date. We'll come back, whatever that date is. We'll do our full presentation. That includes everything. And then I would like the interveners' agreement that they will be prepared to address, have their consultants here, and they can give their presentation and submit their reports. And so then when we all come back after that, we can just tighten everything up, and that will be that. That would be an efficient way. So listen, if you want to hear from the public tonight, listen, I mean, I'm not in a position to object. I'm just, but I just don't know whether it's going to be illuminating at all for the commission. On the substance of the applications.
So just, thank you for clarifying which meeting we're having. So the way I understand our agenda, this is a continuation of the June meeting, right?
Yes.
So I see a lot of faces in the audience that didn't speak in June. I think ample information has been rendered into the public record to allow people to form an overall impression of this project. I don't see why we can't hear from people tonight, and maybe some sort of honor system about people who have not yet spoken would be in order, but I'll leave that to you.
Jeff, did you have?
I was going to suggest that from the original application, quite a bit of materials have changed. And as a commission member, I've received those and going through them, but I haven't yet formed my opinion on all the questions that I have. So I like to listen to what my neighbors and different people say. And so without having seen all the material myself, what happens is I'm not as educated or as informed and haven't thought through it yet. So sometimes when people are speaking, I may not have even seen all of the things that they're remarking on. I don't know what people have read and what they haven't read. So I feel I would be better informed when I listen to my neighbors, which I intend to do, okay? And then I can respond better once I've read the material myself. It's very important to me as a commission member that we remain very transparent during this entire process, that we have a fair process, let me finish, okay, a fair process, and that we have a reasonable time and manage everybody's time and process correctly. I'm sorry this happened where everybody is here, and how that worked out, that's unfortunate. But I think it's more efficient to combine the 3 applications and do it that way, in my view. Thank you for coming.
But Mr. Kennedy, if we had proceeded tonight as planned, you would have had those same documents in front of you, and you would have been expected to be as familiar with them. I mean, you would have been expected to be totally familiar with them.
I got these documents about 20 minutes ago, and I haven't read them yet, and they're coming in from the public, and I'd like to please read them if that's okay with you. And so it takes some time to go through those, and I'd like to read those and, contribute that way when I hear people speaking. Does that make sense to you, or is that doesn't make sense?
It makes a very limited amount of sense to me.
That's good.
And just for the record, I hope that you all are reading the drainage plans, because that was something that Mr. Trinkus pointed out as a particular deficiency about this application. And the people down the hill in New Haven want to make sure that you're reading the drainage plans, okay? And the Woodbridge Land Trust, which owns Bishop's Pond next door, want to make sure that you're reading the drainage plan. They are very important, and they are non-compliant. So it is an extremely important part of this application.
I appreciate your comments, thank you.
Mr. Ellis, I don't think it's lost on anybody here that this is a matter of significant public interest. This is a matter in which the public, members of the public who have spoken previously have expressed frustration with the way the process has unfolded, feel they're being inadequately heard. I don't mind hearing from people tonight. I mean, this is an extension of a hearing that started in June, where a number of people have said they felt that they, did not receive ample opportunity to share their points of view. I would favor proceeding with this public comment on the June materials.
It does seem that that's the consensus of the commission. So we will hear public comment tonight, but I want to get us to the logistics of what happens next. Do you want to look at dates in September? And we do have our October regular meeting, which is probably a good date to keep in the mix as well. But I think it has to be after September 15th in order for us to provide adequate notice of this special meeting to discuss all 3 of your special exception permit requests.
And just so we're clear, the October meeting is October 6th?
I believe so, yes.
Because again, in the interest of making this efficient, ideally we would have the interveners' reports. I mean, by the way, we have Jim Frednick's report, the town's peer reviewer. That's already been submitted, and he had no other comments. But I think if we're looking probably as a practical matter, the week of the 22nd, I know that there's holidays in there.
September 22nd.
September 22nd, yes. I don't know if the 25th is a possibility.
No.
No?
There's a
How about the 18th?
I mean, the problem with this, Mr. Chairman, is the applicant had 90 days to respond to Mr. Trinkus' submission. And so we're giving 3 weeks to the interveners? I mean, the 18th, it's not, you want to talk about prejudice?
You will have had a month.
Okay, so I'm only 60 days off the line.
When will your reports be ready?
Chris, what's on our agenda for the 6th? I have a note that that's going to be a long meeting. We already have a lot on that agenda.
We had previously scheduled a public hearing on EOCD.
EOCD public hearing on 10/6. I see. People might want to comment on both of them.
Sorry, Bob, I'm not hearing you. You go closer to the microphone. So the challenge, if it's any earlier, the interveners have suggested that they need more time to review the reports. So what if we do the 6th of October and the 13th of October? It is.
Columbus Day.
Sorry.
The town hall is closed on campus.
Yeah,
So you kind of double head on
The 6th and the 14th of October.
Can you speak out?
I'm sorry, and folks in the audience, I'm sorry, if you could just keep it down, I know this is not exciting for us looking at calendars and finding dates, but we're doing our best here. The 6th and the 14th as two possible dates.
Listen, that's fine, but I just heard that the Trinkus report won't be ready until the 6th. So there's no reason why the deadline is at 6 weeks. So this private. Listen, we can do the 6th and the 14th, but I think it's appropriate to have the Trinkus memo and anything else from George Logan on the 29th.
I think we do need your materials a week ahead of our meeting.
Fine.
So all materials will
to be
be
clear,
yeah.
Trinkus, Logan, any other expert intervenor reports are due September 29th. We will open the excavation special permit application on October 6th. We have continued the hearing that we're in now until October 6th, so your regularly scheduled meeting. And then we will come back and respond to everything on October 14th.
Does that sound reasonable?
yes.
Okay. And Attorney Nuff, I believe we have in front of us your waiver of
Excuse
the...
me, we need to have quiet so we can have a recording. Thank you for your understanding.
I believe, Attorney Nuff, you received today your extension of all the statutory limitations.
Correct.
And will that continue until this
Yes.
October
Correct.
6th and October 14th approach? Thank you. Okay. So now we have the timing done.
Then I assume we're scheduling some kind of a public hearing subsequent to that?
Why?
I don't know. I'm asking. Are we gonna run, when are we gonna run the hearing on the public part of that?
No, let's be clear. We're coming back on the 6th. We're going to do our presentation. You are going to do your presentation. The public can speak for the third night. And then we will come back on the 14th and we will be done.
So the public hearing is on the 6th then?
It will still be a public hearing
It's
on
still
the
On-
14th.
okay.
The public comment portion of the public hearing will be tonight and on October 6th.
Okay, that's what I was saying. Okay, so
Yes.
it's the 6th. Okay.
But the hearing will be continued until the 14th for the applicant's rebuttal.
Rob, so I just heard before, someone said there was going to be 3 hours of presentations. at the next hearing. You can't expect the public to sit from 6:30 to 9:30 and then start public comment at 9:30 quarter to 10.
It doesn't necessarily have to be 3 hours.
No, but I just heard that. I'm not blaming anybody. Someone said we're gonna have 3 hours of testimony coming up. So it's only fair. I mean, I don't want to sit for 6 hours here. I think it'd be absurd. So there's got to be another
Our
solution.
presentation will not be 3 hours.
I don't know.
Right, so, again, I'm not blaming you, but it's, to me, I'm not gonna sit here for 5 or 6 hours, that's crazy. And I don't expect the public to do that either. There's gotta be a solution where it's a compromise, and we find another night.
One solution is to eliminate redundant comments.
But you can't police that. I mean, let's be realistic. You're gonna remember who commented from June to tonight? No, neither am I. So let's let everyone talk, want to talk, but give them a night.
So Paul, you're suggesting another night
Yeah.
between October 6th and the 14th?
Or push out the 14th. I mean, again, you can't, if we're an hour and 10 minutes here, we've got really nothing, something to accomplish. That's a fucking let's make sure while we're here, the public all knows the night they can comment. They won't be, except for the 3 minutes that you're gonna give them, we'll have a parade of people, they can talk for 1 hour, 3 hours, whatever they want, but that it doesn't interfere with your presentations. Otherwise, someone gets shortchanged. I mean, I really don't want to come back for 3 nights, but I think it's fair. And you can buy pizza.
Reactions from other members of the commission?
We start early?
I'm sorry, you need to get
Can
closer.
we start the meeting earlier?
I can't do this.
No?
I mean, we're not painting ourselves into a corner. I mean, if we run out of time for sort of, adequate public comment on the 6th, we can extend it as we have in the past. And we can decide then. I mean, I don't think we're making a decision now about how drastically to limit public comment. I mean, my opinion, I think many of your opinions is to hear from the public. So we can have public comment on the 6th. After people have sat through the substantive information, which is what they're, purportedly commenting on. So I think we can have public comment on the 6th. If we feel that we need more, we can extend it.
But Paul is raising this concern is that after the however long it's going to take, it will take a good couple of hours of folks because we will have the applicant, the intervener, and our experts all testify. It will be similar to the first time we did this. Do we want to pre-schedule an additional purely public comment session where we will sit here to receive our public comment in That's the question that's before us.
I don't know that you need to make that decision tonight. We know a couple of things. We're going to have the intervener reports on the 29th. We know that we're going to be back here on the 6th for our presentation and the intervener's presentation and some public comments. Let's see where we're at. We have the 14th. If for some reason on the night of the 6th, people say, we need another night to offer our comments because it's gotten too late, then we'll pick another night that we will come back and close. So maybe there's a third night, but the last night is the applicant's turn.
Okay. Paul, is that acceptable?
No, but I'll go along with the majority. I think I think we know it's going to happen on the 6th. It's no secret. We sat there before. It's going to be 3 hours, and that's okay. It can be 4 hours. It's your deal. But I think it's rude to expect the public to come at 6:30 and then start speaking between 9:30 and 10. I mean, all of us have lives too.
I want to respect everybody's lives, but, if this is a matter of significant public interest and importance, there will be some people who are able to stay. There will be some people who let us know that they're not. I mean, if you're attending a state public health meeting, they go 24 hours.
That's
I'm actually trying to hear our commission members speak.
I mean, my comment is in support of hearing from the public as much as possible. And maybe expecting that people who want to comment on the substance of the material presented at the next meeting attend and hear some of that material being presented in the first place. It's very reasonable.
Any comments?
Mr. Chairman, one comment. And further, people are encouraged to, and commissioners will read all the material that comes in by individual members of the public. So you may or may not be, speaking, but I'm going to read every letter that comes in. So people can write that up, send it in now, as we've already received, and you can send those in, and that will get your voice heard as well.
I think we need to move on and get to public comment on this. So we have our two dates right now, the 6th and the 14th, with the recognition from the parties that on the night of the 6th, we will then decide whether we need to have an additional public comment opportunity, and we'll aim to do that. Does that sound fair to everyone? Fair enough.
I don't see another way out at this point.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, the only other housekeeping thing was that we had to act and allow there to be interveners on that other, act on the intervener filing from the Woodbridge Land Trust and the Woodbridge Park Association for the excavation permit. So I move to approve the intervener status for the Woodbridge Land Trust and the Woodbridge Park Association on the special exception excavation permit.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? So you are now interveners across all three of the special exception permits. So now let's move to public comment.
Okay, very last thing. So I just want to make very clear for the record, the original application hearing is being continued to your regularly scheduled meeting on October 6th at 6:30 in this location, correct?
Chris, in this location, like that.
Assuming we'll have it.
I'm saying all this because that's what's required when you're doing a special meeting or a different location, so that everyone knows that we're back here on October 6th
Yes.
at 6:30.
It will be duly noticed. It will be duly noticed.
No, but you don't have to do hearings. You don't have to do new notices for continuation of hearing.
We need Chris to determine that the space is available. Chris, will you determine the space is available and then let everybody know?
When we continued the hearing from July to September, we had originally noticed it for the senior CAC because the registrar of voters had put this room on a hold in case there was a primary. It was then determined that they didn't need it, and so this room freed up. So I don't want to, myself at this point, say that this room is not predisposed for some, we're getting closer to election in November, other use by the registrar of voters. So I would just say that I will find that out tomorrow morning, and it will either be in the senior CAF or it will be in this room, dependent on which one I find from the registrars is open.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we're all set. 29th, 6th, 14th.
So the triggers reports, other intervener reports, all due the 29th. We are continued to till the 6th and at the 14th.
That's consistent with the intervener's understanding, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you. Okay, so Chris, do we need to move? We're going to move to the public hearing portion, and people will need to sign in.
All right, so.
You need a
there
microphone, Chris, if you can.
I'll just yell.
Well,
All right, so we had a sign-up sheet that was made, which was not our sign-up sheet. So as you come up, because because we're not going to call you up. As you come up to speak, you will please print your name so that we know who you are. I can't read people's names when they're written and not clear. So please just print your name, that's all I need. If you want to add your address, that's terrific. But as you come up to speak, there's a sign-in sheet, there's 5 pages, so if we need to flip them over, we will. But that's what we're gonna do. So just please print your name as legibly as you can, your address if you want, and then we'll go from there. And that's it.
Chris, do we need to move this?
I guess we do. That's not tighter to. Yeah, there you go.
All right, we are now having the public hearing portion of our continued public hearing on the open application for a special exception permit at 804 Fountain Street for their site plan for their 96-unit development. The purpose of this public hearing is to listen to your comments. You'll each have 3 minutes for your brief statements in the record. TPC members and any applicants will not be answering any questions you raise. Your public statements and any written comments that were submitted to the town are part of the public record for the TPC to consider alongside this application. As a reminder to everyone, off-the-record communication with a member of the commission on the merits of this application is prohibited. Please keep your comments brief and focused on the special exception permit, and try to avoid unreasonable repetition so that here are your concerns that you and your neighbors may have. We also encourage folks who haven't had a chance to speak at any of our prior ones to come up earlier. But with that, I will allow folks to begin talking, and you need to say your name for the record, and then I'll start your time.
Diana McCarthy, 18 Branch Road. I was not here to speak in June, so I'm honest, and I'm putting children to bed, so I'm going first. Okay, so thank you very much for continuing the public hearing. I was concerned that the last one fell shortly after the 4th of July holiday, and that this one is immediately after the Labor Day holiday. It's sometimes hard for folks to get out. This is also the first 2 weeks that school is back in session. I know we all have open houses, so I appreciate the commission being open to continuing the public hearing, because it is important that we have a good dialogue and embrace the democracy while we still have it. I'm concerned that it appears that the understanding of this project is that it is moving forward regardless of what public comment is. Despite due process and concerns that are being brought up by the public. And as evidence of that, you know, I was reading the construction bid documents that went out for bid immediately following the last public hearing. So the public hearing was continued, and the company would send their bid documents out to engineering firms and other firms to get pricing so that they know exactly who they're hiring and contracting to do this work. They are anticipating that everything is moving forward regardless of what the conversation is in town. And that doesn't make us appear in the best light in good faith of actually listening to each other and what our concerns are. Next, there have been some recent studies that were presented to the town's Conservation Commission. I also want to remind you that there was a memo that was sent over from the Conservation Commission. We spent lots of time writing that and incorporating important concerns to help you understand what we're trying to address. So please, if you have questions, we would love to be added to any of your agendas to answer questions on that in more detail. Some of the studies and observations that have come back on the surrounding properties have documented the presence of multiple endangered species and species of concern and interest. And we recognize that wildlife does not always recognize our property boundaries, and they go where they want to go. So it is highly likely that these species are also living on this property as well. And so we would like a study to be conducted on the Fountain Street parcel, so we understand who we are evicting, who already lives there. Additionally, on the conservation concerns, we're concerned about the increased amount of impervious surface, which is going to drastically increase the stormwater runoff, as well as pollutants that are carried by stormwater runoff, traveling down the hill into other communities, especially within the city of New Haven. Presently now, Westville floods regularly during natural rainstorms, and during extreme weather events, there is significant flooding throughout the entire city of New Haven. Another concern
Actually,
we
wrap
have
up
is,
when you can.
I'm sorry?
If you could wrap up when you can.
Yes, sir, thank you. Another concern we have is about Urban Heat Island. With the increase of the built environment, this would increase likely the surrounding areas who lives near this building, another 8 to 10%. And you know, in the wintertime, that may not be a great concern, but in the summertime, if we have very high heat days, high heat index, it's going to be even hotter with more of the development in the Urban Heat Island there. So with that, I'll leave you with one more, with a suggestion. Is that I recommend that TP&Z start to investigate some of these low-impact development strategies. There's Passive House, there's LEED. These ones actually integrate strategies like green roofs and bioswales and other things that can help stormwater and other environmental negative impacts from development. And the LEED certification actually awards developers for building on property that's already been built on, and this one is undeveloped. So I would strongly encourage you to look into that, and also from parent safety, living on the same road, and we see people zoom around buses at bus stops, and in the snow, I live at Rimmon, so we get ice and snow there, and people don't care if a bus is stopped, they zoom around, and I imagine we would have a bus stop at a place that had a lot of children there, so I would also be very concerned about school safety. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Hello everyone, my name is Ben Carlson, 89 Central Road. I hold a master's degree in environmental management from Duke University, PhD in ecology and evolutionary biology from Yale University. Like Diana, I am a member of the town's Conservation Commission. I'd like to start by thanking all of you for your hard work on TPZ. I understand the time and sacrifice it takes to serve on a town board. I'm grateful for your service. The Conservation Commission has already sent you our formal recommendation in a letter today. I hope you have a chance to read it. This letter lays out why this project should be rejected because of environmental concerns and inconsistency with our POCD as well as the state's. Tonight I want to make 2 additional points not included in that letter. My first concerns the town planner's estimate of 7 additional children. If you are relying on that number to guide your decision, don't. It is unreliable, and I'll tell you why. I'm not a demographer, but I am trained in statistics and modeling. This means I understand best practices and can recognize when numbers fail to pass the lab test. The planner defended his estimates by stating he used the Rutgers model. But any statistician will tell you the model matters far less than the skill of the person using it. Here, 2 mistakes stand out. 1, he assumed that average conditions applied to Woodbridge. They clearly don't. Beecher's enrollment is increasing even as the state falls. Its quality is a magnet to residents of nearby population centers. This makes an estimate based on average conditions meaningless. 2, he gave you a single number without prediction intervals. Even if this number was correct on average, the prediction interval could be extremely wide, ranging anywhere from, say, 0 to 100 students. To make appropriate decisions based on models, you need prediction intervals, not point estimates. If you want accurate numbers, I highly suggest you seek the advice of a professional statistician. For my second point, I'd like to say that, from a conservation perspective, the proposed development is not simply an issue due to its footprint and impact on the immediate site. In conservation, where you build is often more important than what you build. To date, TPZ has not considered the broader ecological landscape. For example, adjacent properties, regional connectivity. These are critical to conservation. The town urgently needs a plan and map identifying where we can build with the least environmental impact. This map could help TPZ approve projects and modify zoning that meet housing goals while still protecting the environment. This map may reveal places in town where it is appropriate to build a 96-unit apartment complex. I can tell you, this site is not one of them. The Conservation Commission is eager to collaborate with you on this plan. So finally, I'd like to end on a personal note. I am a Democrat and always have been one. I'm a Democrat because that party stands up for the marginalized voices in society, from oppressed peoples to environmental concerns. It is with great sadness that I see members, I'm just wrapping up now, I see members of my own party disregard the ideals that made our party strong. I believe we should have housing options that are affordable for all people. But as we provide housing to those who need it most, it would be great injustice to foist upon them an impoverished world in which to live. If you are a housing advocate, I want you to know that I'm with you. I believe in your goals. I want you to succeed. But I also beg you, as you fight for those who historically have had little voice in our society, please don't forget about those creatures who have no voice at all. Thank you for your time.
Comments?
Good evening. My name is Ellen Scalatar, Chairman Flea and members of the Woodbridge Plan and Zoning Commission. I appreciate the opportunity to address the proposal for 804 Fountain Street that you have under consideration. As many of you know, I am the chair of the Woodbridge Democratic Town Committee, but I want to make clear that these comments are submitted in my personal capacity. As background, I would note that some people want more diverse housing in Woodbridge, while others don't. Some support affordable housing options, while others don't. The 804 Fountain Street project, aside from its specifics, inevitably raises these broader issues in our minds, as the prior speaker noted. Regardless of how one feels on the broader issues, I think most of us would agree that our town is better off if we are proactive rather than reactive when it comes to housing issues. As to this specific proposal, I am not as steeped in it as many of the people here, and just being here this evening has brought a lot of that home to me. But I am mindful that 804 Fountain Street is private property. And the town does not control development as it would, for example, at the Country Club of Woodbridge. There are many things that I'm sure I would like to see taken into consideration, and you might want to, but might not be within your purview. I can't speak to the specifics of that. I've tried to read the ordinance, but it's quite obtuse. So while there are significant concerns that I'd like to mention, it appears to me that the location, I'm not saying the site, but the location is appropriate for multi-family housing right at the entrance to the Haven, right along a busy street. On the other hand, I do have concerns about specifics of the proposal. The number of units seems very high and quite dense at that property. I understand that the Woodbridge Volunteer Fire Department has raised safety issues, including related to the number of stories, and I assume that those will be satisfied before the project can be approved. I also understand that environmental issues, some of which were just noted, have been raised, and I'm confident those will be duly considered. And I also believe it is important that the design of the property comport to the greatest degree possible with the aesthetics of our town. Importantly also, there is a financial imperative for Woodbridge to expand our housing options. I also believe that as responsible members of our local and greater community, we have the obligation to provide a mix of housing that helps address the shortage in our state. With appropriate modifications, I hope this project can be an asset to the town, and I know that you have a very difficult and complex job ahead of you in considering this. Thank you for your consideration of these comments, and I do want to thank you very much for the many, many hours that you volunteer for the betterment of Woodbridge. You have a tough job, and I really want to thank you for what you do. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Robert McLean. I'm a 27-year resident of this town,
And I'm here to express shock and indignation that we are actually here tonight. The fact that a 96-unit apartment building is being considered in this location, in this town, is simply gobsmacking. I'm sure others have and will speak to adverse impacts on the environment, traffic, and town infrastructure and finances. Simply, I'll give you a lot of time back. This is a horrible idea, and I urge you to oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, Daniel Delpre. Also, going to keep it simple. Mr. Elliott said it best. There are experts, and then there are common folk. I'm one of the common folk. I will say thank you for allowing public comment tonight, but then also express disappointment at the fact that I have to thank you to allow public comment tonight. There was a couple of disheartening things that came across. That lawyer, presenter, extremely condescending and rude. Mr. Chairman, you are the chair of this board. You dictate agendas. You run this board. Similarly to the last comment, I'm a firefighter in New Haven. What the heck are we thinking? Like, we're not built for that. We're a volunteer fire department. Even a career dog next door in New Haven, we don't have the ladder truck. We don't have the response. God forbid the emergency when, not if, when it happens. We're not built for that. The rainwater comment, when you said, oh, don't worry about the rainwater, that's 400 pages of nonsense. Not when you're down that hill. I worked at the firehouse in Fountain Street for 8 years. Westville floods. That's not a secret. That's not a surprise. And when I try to go home, can't head up Fountain Street because Fountain Street's a disaster. It's going to impact so much more. I'm sorry. I don't want to say I don't care about the birds, the bees, and the bugs. That's great to have that priority. But me, it's going to impact. I don't want that in this town. It doesn't belong here. It shouldn't be here. 4 stories. When was the last time anyone stood in front of a 4-story building and actually looked at it and said, anywhere in this town, that makes sense? Can we do better? Can we get more? Yes, but wisely. Don't jump on it. And I know, again, simple approach. We're either going to get sued by him, sued by them, or sued by anybody. Make the right mistake. Cancel this project. Deal with that lawsuit now instead of figuring out a 4-story albatross for the rest of the time I live in this town. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hello, my name is Marguerite Dillaway, and I have lived at 1196 Johnson Road for the past 37 years. I've reviewed the website documents regarding the proposed 4-story 96-unit building, and I also thank you for holding this public hearing and for all of the advance notice. I have only a few points to make. I'm absolutely in favor of affordable housing, but I think that this project is in the wrong place and of the wrong style, 4 stories, for the town of Woodbridge. This plan was adopted for this parcel, presumably because it was the cheapest parcel that had city sewer and water, and if approved, it would open the floodgates for 4-story buildings in similar locations all over Woodbridge that also have city water and sewer, which would include Beecher Road. This would forever change the feel of this quiet town. I've read the traffic studies and cannot believe that there would be only 36 to 37 extra cars at peak hours of the day, turning and exiting the access road to the apartment building on Fountain Street for a 96-unit structure. How can that be? Surely those people will be working and exiting and shopping and all of that kind of stuff. Keep in mind that, of course, this change in zoning for this parcel at 804 would then allow the entire Woodbridge Country Club to be also developed. As I understand, the proposed plan for the country club would include, a current proposed plan would include 155 new units. So along with 804 Fountain Street, does this mean a total of 250 units in that one segment of road? So what happens to this traffic study of this neighborhood at the time that the country club is also developed? The 2 properties are obviously connected, and we have a right to have this information before going forward on the approval of 804 Fountain Street. So when can we see a joint traffic study for this whole neighborhood? I think that's really important to this. I'm very much interested in how much it will cost the town to facilitate the project. at 804 Fountain Street. I haven't seen any numbers. If they're there on the website, please let me know. And I also certainly hope that the studies that you've gotten, of which there are many, for wetland, ecological protection, floodwater concerns, sound pollution from the blasting, ledges that would affect surrounding neighbors and wildlife. I hope that they're all accurate and that engineering concerns are taken seriously. Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Marjorie Wiener, and I live at 35 Longcrest Road in New Haven, Connecticut. My neighborhood runs parallel to Fountain Street and starts at the traffic light at the bottom of the hill. All of the traffic from Woodbridge comes through my neighborhood morning and evening rush hours. The impact of this proposal, housing apartments, will truly impact my street. About 2 years ago, I started getting water in my basement. It was a finished room, and I noticed spots of wet carpet. I would put a fan downstairs, it would dry up. But in the last year, it took more water, and at that point, I called a basement repair company. And this past March, the work of wall removal, French drains, sump pumps, and repairs was finished with a cost of me of about $15,000. I was talking to some neighbors, and I learned that the Yale Golf Course had taken down 3,000 trees adjacent to this property with this expansion, the property that we're talking about here. My fear is that removing so many trees and the earth and putting in asphalt and concrete, I will need to build an ark. I am not the only one here who has had to put sump pumps and drains in their homes. This area, pre-1936, there was a lake at the bottom of my street. Investors wanting to put more homes filled this lake in and built homes. Since then, a number of my neighbors have had to replace their basements, their foundations. I am sincerely worried about this project, and I hope you will consider looking at another site for affordable housing. Thank you.
Something new for the Center Housing. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak again. I want to raise several concerns regarding this application that remain unresolved. Despite my previous comments at the Board of Selectmen regular meeting on February 26th. So, first question, the letter of authorization. So, there are two versions of the documentation from the town website. One, from the withdrawal application, is signed and dated December 30th, 2024. The other, in my hand, is another version. The current version contains no date at all. In addition, neither of the letter leaves the correct property address. Both state the address is 84 Fountain Street rather than 804. So those are not just the clerical errors. Authorization letter, authorization documentation are the legal foundation of the application. So if the foundation is flawed, how can we move the application forward? Rather than what's told last year, that the short notice of the roaming change meeting is in coordinates with all the rules. In regarding to that, the same standard need to apply to this applicant and the representatives, especially when there are very clear flaws in the documentation and the application. So this raises a few important questions for the TPD committee, for the applicant's attorney, and also for the community now in this room, maybe in their home now. First, how can we rely on representation when most basic authorization documents contain error and omission? Second, if the attorney's authority begins in the very end of December, how could the same law office or attorney represent the owner during the TPZ meeting from September to early December? That's prior to the authorization begin. And the last, if the if the question for the first two, you know, it has been confirmed, was there another authorization letter signed earlier before the zoning change meeting? If so, where is it? I cannot find it on our town website. So those inconsistencies create a conflict of interest, and we need the committee to audit the whole process and the zoning change process as well. If there is a conflict of interest, what we should do for the application? The second question, I want to talk about the school enrollment. So the lawyer highlighted a decreased term in their response to the school enrollment in their latest response. I just want to say this is the misleading. They only use 2 years data. They only use 1 year data. And also, this change can be explained by the Connecticut new kindergarten eligible rule that moves the cutoff date for from the January 1st to September 1st. So that means children born between September 2nd and December 31st, they have to wait another year to attend to school. And then the last question, the financial burden. If this application increases the enrollment pressure at Beach Road School and eventually to the Emily High, who will cover additional costs? Will the builder contribute to expanding the resources, or will our taxpayers bear the burden? Also, if this application approved, more and more the same type of application will come in on the way. How will we handle it? We need to have a plan. And our community deserves a clear answer before any project with such long impact is approved. So I strongly urge the committee to decline this application immediately due to all the reasons as I listed above. And also thank you for your efforts to coordinate the events. So, but our town must apply the consistent standards and protect both the transparency and fairness. Thank you.
I'm Mel. I live at 9 Dickinson Drive in Woodbridge, Connecticut. I'm actually new to this town, only about a year. I find so many arguments that have been raised in this public comment deeply problematic. But I'm going to start with, I moved to this town with my 5-year-old kid. His name is Joaquin Medina. He's at Beach Road School. I find it problematic that people in this town would describe anyone like my kid who just came to this town as a liability or a problem for this town. I find that the movement of no growth and no opportunity, which are folks that are represented in this crowd, aim to keep people out of Woodbridge on arguments of character, the right building, whether or not our taxes are going to go up because we're not providing, we have too many kids in town. And as someone who not only grew up in public housing, but is not even from this town, I find that not inclusive. I find it problematic, judgmental, and challenging. The fundamentals of this housing development, as I understand, is that Fountain Road is one of the few roads in this town that has sewage, that the site itself is undeveloped, and that there is potential tax benefits to the town for building. One, the property taxes from each car that people are complaining about and replacing stuff. I would love from this committee to understand what the tax benefit to the town is, if any. That would be beneficial to me as a taxpayer. I find the arguments about additional children in our schools unfounded and deeply problematic in terms of the idea that a new child coming to Woodbridge, an excellent school system, would not be a beautiful benefit to any child who can access this elementary school. The fact that people laugh when I say that gives you an understanding not only of their decorum, but their values. I don't know that attorney. I don't know these people. When they say they speak for Woodbridge, they don't speak for me. And I imagine they don't speak for a significant number of voters who could not be here because they had to put their kids to sleep. Like I missed my kids' bedtime. So when people say they intervene on behalf of community residents, it's not me. It's not for my kid. And it's not for the thousands of kids in this state that would benefit from being in this town. I find it deeply problematic that people feel it's okay to laugh, not just at people's lives, but the argument that we as Woodbridge can have more people in our town contribute to our town, that growth, smart growth, planned growth, would be beneficial, not only because it would increase our tax base, but because it would bring new people, people like me. I was born in Waterbury, Connecticut, and I now live in Woodbridge. I am this community as much as anyone else in this town. Thank you.
Way down. I'm Martha German. I live on Johnson Road, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to address the issue of traffic. It will be a problem as massive as the apartment building itself. Oh, thank you. All right. With all cars exiting onto Fountain Street just above the Route 15 bridge. I wrote comments for the June 2nd meeting, but didn't speak because of the long line of speakers ahead of me. Back then, I referenced the traffic tie-up on Fountain Street because of work on the Parkway Bridge. There were often long lines of cars heading both uphill and downhill. It was nearly impossible for a downhill driver to turn left onto Seneca Road, which is the popular quick route to get to Amity. That snarled cars was a realistic preview of what drivers will face on a daily basis if this development is built. Now imagine the situation in reverse. Cars coming up Fountain Street will also back up quickly if even one driver stops to turn across traffic into this apartment's driveway. About 5 years ago, in response to imagined traffic from proposed housing on the Country Club property, a traffic circle was suggested where Ansonia Road, Rimmon Road, and Park Lane converge above Woodfield Road. That suggestion illustrates the serious concern for daily traffic flow down Fountain Street. In the present case, it's not even a viable option because the proposed driveway exits below all of these roads. And finally, since Fountain Street, AKA Route 243, is a state road, the DOT will surely weigh in on this project. Thank you.
Hello again. Brenton Elliott, 19 Groveville Road, in his capacity as a private citizen this time. I think it's important for there to be some clarity around this affordability issue. This is not really an affordable housing project we're talking about. This is a 96-unit building with 12 affordable units in it. And I'm not sure how many people in this crowd have actually read the affordability plan that has been submitted by the applicant, but it is worth a read. And it's worth a read because of the lack of enforceability that's inherent in the entire thing. The idea that this plan is going to be recorded on the land records is virtually meaningless. Recording something on the land records does nothing other than put the public on notice that this document exists. I can put an affidavit on the land records of my house saying I'm the smartest man in the world, and it doesn't mean anything because nobody's going to believe it, okay? And it's the same as it functions towards this affordability plan. You have Fountain Street LLC administering it and deciding who's going to get these units. And as Mr. Nuff stated in the last meeting, they're not going to designate any certain number of units. There's not going to be a particular unit that's designated as an affordable unit. It's going to just be whatever comes up. And if you read this, the income verification is going to be prospective rather than retrospective. It's going to be the particular applicant for a unit. They're going to look at what he anticipates making over the next 12 months. So if you have a doctor who just got out of medical school and is making $20,000 a year that year, and the next year might get a bump to $200,000 a year, he is going to be in one of those units. And Mr. Nuff said that they are not going to get those guys out. They are going to be there. So what happens then? You could conceivably, if you start doing the math and thinking about it, end up with no affordable units in there if you get enough people who get raises, who get bumps. You could have a 96 unit market rate building, which is hovering around $3,000 a month in terms of rent. There's no deed restriction, there's no certification from the property owner to the town of Woodbridge. There are annual reports, but who here is going to go down there and audit this place? Who here is qualified, and does the town have the resources to go down there and do that anyways? And what's going to be the recourse? Even if you put it in their special permit that they have to do certain things, your recourse is going to be basically to sue them. So you're going to have to get the town lawyer to go down and sue them. Now, how does that work, and how much money is that going to chew up, and do you even win in the long term? It's very important for people to realize that the social utility of this building is quite minimal when you read the plan. It is going to be a market rate building with all the attendant problems without any of the real benefits that go along, regardless of your outlook, with affordable housing. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And please sign in.
This is a new experience for me.
Can you please introduce yourself first?
My name is Rocky Tremblay. I'm at 27 Peace Road. And at the last presentation, it was said that you would have like 8 seconds to get out of this complex and take your turn. And I went home, I did the math, and I realized that they used the 44 mile an hour that they said was the average speed, median speed, and with the 500 foot straight view, which they don't have going up the hill right now because there's bedrock. And they said, well, we're going to take out the bedrock. And in their traffic pattern, sure, 44 miles an hour was the average, but some of the cars were clocked at 60 miles an hour. So there goes your 8 seconds. And then when they're cutting, so they'll probably have to cut more of the bedrock than they were planning on cutting. And as they're taking out the bedrock, I'm wondering, I don't know the answer to this, if they're using explosives. And I think they would. And I'm concerned with Bishop's Pond. I mean, the bedrock is holding back Bishop's Pond. And if you start dynamiting and cracking the bedrock, pretty soon that pond, I think, is in danger of just draining downhill into your area. I think that taking out that corner of bedrock could be a disaster. So I just came here the last time and this time just to express that view. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Tim Chegwin. That 4 Woodfield Road in Woodbridge, Connecticut. I congratulate you on having an open hearing. The last time I was in your place, I got thrown out of that of that room. Thank you. Because the public needs to be heard. And that, the testimony is vibrant. These people are geniuses compared to, I'm sorry, I'm taking up too much time. Okay, I encourage you to sponsor open opinions wherever you can. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, my name is Ian Cui. First, I want to thank you for your volunteer for this month. I think I didn't know until now because my neighbor texted just such an initiative. So I wonder if we can let more people know, because I guess a lot of people like me didn't know this event. And also I think I guess the major behind this reason for behind this project because they stay at the affordable housing level. But I think as a resident of this town, we should also have the voice and the right to express our concern to the state. Not like a government decide everything for us. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Barbie Halpern. I live on Elderly Lane. As a lifelong resident of Woodbridge, I have to say, changing the zoning laws to allow this type of building to even be proposed is one of the worst decisions that I've witnessed in this town. I, like most of the people speaking at the meetings, am completely disappointed by the decision to change the zoning to the extremes that have been done. Specifically, I would like to speak to you tonight from my experience and knowledge that is directly relevant to the proposal and the negative impact it will have on all of us. As a professional firefighter in Milford for more than 22 years, I've seen firsthand the massive burdens that this type of development creates for a city, never mind a small town like Woodbridge, with significantly fewer resources. The large population increase, location on a high-speed and steep road, and the poorly designed access to the building are but three factors that will not only create a perfect storm to increase the burden on all of our first responders, police, fire, and EMS, but also create a more dangerous atmosphere for them to operate in. As a home inspector for more than 20 years, I'm familiar with a very common occurrence for builders to purchase 2 or 3 houses next to each other, only to knock them down and build housing just like this. This means that instead of one massive development, Woodbridge will become a victim of untold large-scale development just as burdensome and unsightly. As a residential landlord throughout the New Haven County for the past 25 years, the allegation that this type of building will only add 7 school-age kids is completely wrong. Woodbridge is well known for its school system, and families are going to be fighting to get an apartment. Even in our high-density cities like New Haven, I've seen firsthand tenants squeezing 2 to 4 children into 1-bedroom apartments. Now do the math for a massive building full of 1 and 2 bedroom units. As someone who sits on the Beecher Building Infrastructure Committee, we are already overflowing at Beecher, the largest elementary school in the entire state. Even with our current population, the town will struggle to afford renovations and/or replacement. It boggles my mind that you aren't even allowed to build this type of massive structure in our commercial zone, which makes it even greater travesty that you are allowing this in residential A zoning. In closing, I would like to say it is not too late to do the right thing and deny the application and go back to responsible zoning that makes sense for our town and its future. Thank you.
sat through many of these meetings, listened a lot. I'm not adverse to affordable housing, but I am adverse to where this is being proposed for a lot of reasons. And I don't think one of the most important things that this group has considered is what are the costs to the town going to be? One of the things that comes to my mind is we do, as two previous firefighters, and I'm not a firefighter, but I work with firefighters all the time. We rely on mutual aid in this town. Mutual aid comes from New Haven. Has anybody thought that a ladder truck, an aerial truck, cannot get under that underpass? And it means that it will have to go all the ways around Whaley Avenue and come up across Beecher Road or Pease Road to get to that site if we need them. Has anybody considered if we have to purchase another fire truck in this town and the cost over $2 million for that? What are the costs that this town is going to incur as a result of this potential application being accepted? I implore you to consider rejecting this application because this town cannot afford additional expenses when we have to expand and renovate Beecher Road School. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, I'm Sarah Beth Goldtree, 11 Mapleville Drive. And I come to you as a member of the Beecher Board of Education who has served for the last 4 years and watched a growth. I know there are some studies that have shown that we are not a growing school. We are currently at 860 in the last 4 years. Every year we have ended the year with almost 20 more students than we started with. So we're projecting we'll probably be around 880 by the end of the school year. We have our music teacher on a cart. We have teachers that don't have classrooms because we are bursting. So a 96 unit, which with a projection of 7, which again, it's laughable. I have no clue how that number could have come. For numbers for the town, at almost $20,000 a student to educate them, it's a beautiful idea that we could educate all children here at Beecher. It's a wonderful school. That would be lovely, but that's not realistic. Taxpayers who are already being taxed out of this town just can't afford that. And our students, we don't have room for more students. So this seriously needs to be considered when you're reviewing all your documents. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
So Amy Morella, I did speak last time, but I specifically reserved my time.
Yeah.
I specifically reserved my time.
Oh, that's fine. But could you sign in?
Yeah, I will at the end, if that's all right. I will put my makeup. I mean, do you want me to help? I'll do it. Amy Morella. To reiterate my brief comment from before, the drawings as they were presented last time did not look to me like a 4-story building. If you recall, there was an entryway into the garage that was at ground level from the garage, and there was a substantial portion of the building that was shown as being exposed in that lower level. They seem to have, with the drawings that I could see online, to have done some landscaping or infill to hide that. I urge you to look at that closely and carefully consider whether the building is in fact more than 4 stories. Beyond that, since you have taken the position that the dual applications that were presented in June can no longer be discussed tonight because they have to be linked with the new site work application, since that's the position of the applicant, that's the position of the TPZ. I just want to make a point that when you actually get to deciding about the 3 applications, you should be sure that you consider the full environmental implications and impacts of all 3 activities that would be permitted if you allowed this to occur. There's a basic concept in environmental protection that you look at the cumulative impacts of a project. In this instance, you should be looking at the cumulative impact of all 3 applications. If you fail to do that, when Mr. Knopf himself says that he has to present everything at once, you will be sort of defying basic tenets of environmental protection, starting with NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act in 1969, going to the Connecticut Environmental Policy Act in 1973, which governs that governments, and I think it applies here to this local government entity, consider things in their cumulative formation when they're looking at a project. And I would just say that that's necessary, because, especially because now you have this site work application, which may try to say, oh, well, the blasting's over here and the building's over here, there. But we all know that the site work is only happening because of the construction. So please be sure that you look at it all together for the sake of the woods, the critters, the pond, and all of the human neighbors. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, all, and thank you so much for your service to the town. I really appreciate it. I'm Richard Forselius, 1105 Bracebrook Road, a lifelong Woodbridge resident, and for 30 years I've been involved in conservation, sustainability, preservation, as well as open space and the historical significance of this town. Amongst my other certifications, I am a LEED Green Associate. LEED, if you're not familiar, is leadership in energy and environmental design. And I do recommend that the TPZ take a look at LEED criteria as one consideration in any large development recommendations or proposals for this town. As an example, you will find that most, if not all, Yale University buildings have LEED, maybe LEED Platinum even certification, but there's several layers of LEED certification, and it works on a point and criteria system. For instance, and I have not heard about this, and I heard it before, admittedly, I missed the last public discussion. LEED has a strong preference in reuse of already developed land, not in undeveloped land. It also requires that certain development, large development occur near services. In other words, walkable to grocery stores or doctor's offices or other types of services that might be necessary, drugstores, etc. Also that it could be on a bus line as an example, that you make considerations for those who may wish to bicycle ride or what have you. And LEED also, of course, promotes conservation, that of power, water, HVAC, etc. The Toll Brothers development, of course, not at all like this, but it is located near services down there on Bradley Road in Woodbridge. Honestly, I'm kind of amazed that we've gotten to this point, that we have had this change in zoning. Really, we must preserve this town for future generations and our children. I've spoken about this many times and written about it over my 30 years. Once it's gone forever. I'm not opposed to development, it's just that this is massive. It's at a terrible location, and I strongly urge the TPZ to consider the environmental impact and LEED criteria when it comes to, and as well as obviously location, when it comes to any large-scale development proposals. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward for public comment?
Mr. Chairman, after the speaker, we have just a 5-minute break. After this speaker, can we take a break for restaurant?
What? This one.
After this speaker?
Sure, after the speaker, we're going to take a bathroom break. Commission members.
My name is Maria Kane, and I live in 1891 Richfield Turnpike. I'm a lifelong resident of the town, and I also have been a leader in a lot of conservation and environmental efforts in this town for many years. My comment really is about, I'm so proud of the people that have come up to say things, because that shows you that Woodbridge is very concerned about many things, and very important to them, and they're putting it out. And I think all the detail about technology and the technical thing about this, the environmental thing, that's impressive. This is Woodbridge. So now, my major comment is just visual. Look at you driving into Woodbridge, okay? If you're coming from Whaley Avenue, you see this institutional looking $1 million development, which is not Woodbridge at all. And then now you're going to build something on the other side. You're coming up from Fountain Street, and you're looking like you've designed a federal tier jailhouse. That's not Woodbridge at all. Look at you. You are so intelligent and so concerned about cool things, and we're going to enter Woodbridge like you said. That's not Woodbridge at all, neither one of these. I don't know what you're dealing with taxes. Are you kidding me? I've been here for so long, I've not seen any project diminish my taxes. Okay, so now you bring on this thing? My God. Listen, guys. Look, I work very hard in New Haven for affordable housing. Okay, I'm right now in a place we're trying to uplift and clean up Fairhaven, my route. Okay? But I can do it there and easily because there's transportation and there's jobs. What are you doing with Woodbridge? This is not our original charter. Our charter was, we're a bedroom town for New Haven. And look at what we have. Look at our citizens. How concerned and how they love the land. Don't do this. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Ben, do you still need a break, or do we? How many folks, if you could just raise your hands to plan on speaking, we'll determine whether we'll take a 5-minute break or.
Nobody else?
You're encouraged. Okay, Ben can wait. And please sign in. Thank you.
My name is Kathy Wick. I live on Ringman Road. I also read carefully the applicant's affordability plan, and most of my comments are similar to what Mr. Elliott said earlier. From reading that plan, it is entirely possible that there could be 0 affordable units in this building, the way the plan is written. So the plan is completely unacceptable. I've consulted with officials in 2 other towns and asked about affordability plans in their towns and described this one. And they said that that is not the way affordability plans work in their towns. Another oddity in the affordability plan arises in section 11 regarding how they calculate rental prices. The plan makes the following assumptions regarding occupancy. Quote, such income shall then be adjusted for household size, assuming occupancy by 1.5 persons per bedroom, except in the case of a studio, in which case one person shall be assumed, and using the adjustment formula adopted by HUD. So based on the statement of use submitted for zoning approval, we can assume, based on the developer's own estimate, that the 55 one-bedroom units will have 83 occupants, the 25 two-bedroom units will have 75 occupants, and the 16 studio units will have 16 occupants. That is 174 occupants. According to the dubious claim that only 7 of them will be school children, there will be 167 adults sharing 146 parking spaces. Here I will note that the applicant's initial submission included only 1 more bedroom than the current application, but 27 more parking spaces. How did we get from there to here? Are we supposed to believe that a reduction of 1 bedroom results in the need for 27 fewer parking spaces? I suspect that the reason is not because they actually think they need less parking, it is because they ran out of space on a very challenging site that is simply not suited to a building of this size. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Liz Chicos, 26 Richard Street Drive. I've been listening to the public comments at the last few meetings, and I'm left wondering why the chairman is representing the interests of the developer and not the residents of Woodbridge. Make it make sense.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that last part because I didn't hear you?
I'll say the whole thing again. I've been listening to the public comments at the last few meetings, and I'm left wondering why the chairman is representing the interests of the developer and not the residents of Woodbridge. Make it make sense. I implore you to cancel this project.
Would anyone else like to make a public comment this evening? I'll ask again, would anyone else like to make a public comment this evening? It's my tradition, I ask 3 times, would anyone like to make a public comment? So, yes. Please, come on.
I mean, my comment.
I'm sorry, you have to sign in.
Oh.
Thank you.
Where does it come from? I just have one quick question.
And can you please introduce yourself? Thank you.
Terry Gearing, 8 Westview Drive, Woodbridge. I have one question, and I don't know the answer, and maybe you do, but I've heard it several times. And they say that New Haven, right beyond the Parkway, could not build this building. How can we? I mean, I don't know what the exact criteria is for that, or even if it's true, but I thought it would be worth thinking.
It's true.
Go ahead, that's it.
Thank you so much for your public comment. I will now ask again, anyone else like to make public comment this evening? Would anyone else like to make public comment? 3rd time, I'll go slowly. Anyone else want to make public comment? Yes, I'll say that all at the end. Okay, so thank you all for your participation in the public comment portion of our public hearing tonight. We are going to continue this public hearing to October 6th. So we need
So moved.
I will second then to continue the public hearing to October 6th. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of continuing to October 6th? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? So thank you for your participation in the public hearing tonight. Thank you to the public, in particular, for your participation and for your submission of written comments. If you gave oral testimony but also have written comments, feel free to hand it over to Chris Sullivan at the end of the line. It'll get into our public record for this hearing. I want to thank the commission for being good listeners as well. So now we will take our 5-minute bathroom break. And we have to do a few cleanup items, but thank you again.
Okay, please continue.
All right, I'm going to call us back into order. After a short break, we now have continued our public hearing and we can move to our work session, which was on our agenda. I think the only items that, and again, I'm in the interest of letting us all go home soon. My question, I guess, is on the plan of conservation and development and scheduling. We had originally scheduled that public hearing for our October 6th meeting. Have you already noticed
No.
that? I know Bob Wisney, you suggested starting earlier. I mean, I don't know if that would make that a extremely long afternoon, but if we did, I'm just putting that out there for our consideration. Do we want to start the public hearing on the plan of conservation development early and then have this after? I don't know, or reschedule
The same night?
The same night. Yeah. We're running out of.
So when does the POCD have to be done?
It should have been done in May.
Yeah,
So
we're already
expired
So if we're already in arrears, why can't you just put that off?
because the state has a letter from us saying that we're working on it, and if we go to apply for a grant, they have to know why we haven't done it yet. So you want it, I'm not saying you should do it on the 6th. I think personally,
Do it
it should
another
be
night.
separate nights.
Yeah, do it another night.
So we need to find another night.
For the POCD.
For the POCD, we don't necessarily have to do that tonight, but should we do that by email?
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to try to do it for your regular meeting in November? Because I don't think you want to have another meeting in October if you have another.
Can you check with our consultant if we have to push it to the regular meeting in November? Is that too late? Or?
I don't think you have much choice.
Yeah, I think that's probably right, because we're.
I will double check with Rob Collins.
Check with the administration whether they're
So,
Yeah, it's and Chris, you can check with the town to see if there are any grants potentially. Okay, so.
I'm just trying to get it on that November meeting. So it would be at your regular meeting on November 3rd, which is just before election.
Sure. Then it's late.
And that may be an issue because if this room is used for election, this room wouldn't be available. So you might want to push it.
Do we think the POCD hearing is going to attract as much interest
Yes.
as this?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Is there another comparable space? We mentioned the senior cafeteria. Is that comparable in terms of capacity for members of the public?
The problem that you have is, I don't know. I mean, trying to continue it to the week after, it's the day in between Sunday and Veterans Day, and people will complain that it's between Sunday and Veterans Day. And so I will poll you and find out what information I can and we'll go from there.
On room availability, on the town's interest in grants, and we will try to come up with a date that works. Unless there's anything burning, we don't have Andrew on Scrog, Kathy, I think we can take a pause on housing and anything for zoning. Chris?
Just complaints about roosters.
Complaints about roosters.
Roosters.
Oh. Then there was the, did we get our newsletter from?
Should have been in what I gave you last week.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to do minutes? Has anyone had a chance to look at them, or?
Look at a couple.
If folks are I'm happy to do minutes. Do you want to do them individually or approve as a package? I'm feeling approving as a package. Anyone, I move to approve the regular meeting minutes from April 7th, the special meeting minutes from April 28th, the regular meeting minutes of June 2nd, the special meeting minutes of June 9th, the special meeting minutes of June 30th, the regular meeting minutes of July 7th, the special meeting minutes of August 4th, and the special meeting minutes of August 25th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments, edits, discussions on any of those?
Question. So if some of us weren't here for some of those meetings, do you want us to abstain?
Not, if you're not making the motion to move and approve, you can vote.
Okay.
Or if you abstain, it just counts as an approval anyway.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
Raises the question of whether a commission member need be present to sort of co-sign the validity of the minutes as documented. I mean, I guess you could say you weren't there and so you can't sustain it. But you watched all the recordings of the meetings you missed.
Every minute.
So you're good.
I remember having breakfast.
I can redo this individually if folks want.
That's fine. I'll just abstain. It's all good.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Right. I move to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you to the